Welcome everybody to Tuesday Night Live with Cairo Destiny, Rick and Brett as usual, and we are thrilled to have an old friend of ours, someone who we've known for years and years, and the impact that he had on us back in 2014 with his book Play Your Bigger Game. And Rick, the reason I know that is because I looked at what you wrote to me in the book when you signed it for me, and it says we are co-players. But then it said more to come. And here we are.
Here we are.
6 years later, more to come has come true. It only took a global pandemic. Don't worry about it.
Well, don't forget, he was also with us again in Mexico. A repeat performance. And Rick, I must tell you that you are probably top one or two most popular speakers we've ever had at seminars. That's why we were excited to have you back.
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that's the general consensus. People loved it. People love you. Very relatable, and just gave them an opportunity as the definition of play your bigger game. People got to play their bigger game and made some serious breakthroughs. And when you have that kind of impact on people, we have to have you back, of course.
Right, especially with this time. So let's just dive right in.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about what you're up to. Obviously, the book was written years back. And you've expanded your consciousness, expanded your vision and what you share. Just sort of get us up to speed, if you will.
Sure. Well, hi everybody, and thanks guys so much for having me back into your world. I mean, I just want to sort of speak from my heart about that. We're in the together, and I make up the people who are in your space. We're all in the raising the level of consciousness business, and through body, through mind, through spirit, through soul, through consciousness, whatever doorway in. That's the business we're all in, and it takes a village to help with that. So it's an honor to be a part of your village to do that. So what am I up to? Oh my gosh, right? Well, I'll just be really frank. I've been on Zoom calls since 8:30 this morning. It's now 6:03 California time. I had about a 20-minute break in there in the middle.
Little snack.
It's like the raw meat under the door. He keeps going.
Exactly. So I'm not recommending that to everybody, but why I think I share that is there's a lot of hunger out there for support. It's like, and people, I sort of want to be the voice of what I'm hearing out there. People want a space and a place to be guided, to be held, to be pointed, to be coached, to be, sort of give me a home where I feel okay, because home right now is confronting. You know what I mean? Like being at home is causing all kinds of almost anxiety. So I won't go through all that I'm doing. I'm leading courses, I'm training, I'm doing calls like this. There's a lot of free, there's some paid, there's this sort of, my business is sort of this amazing amalgamation of helping people. I don't even want to use the word cope, helping people to remember that they're creative, that they are creative geniuses at heart, even in the midst of these circumstances. Because the distinction I want to offer, you guys maybe have heard this, I probably said it when I was with you in Mexico. I'm either a manager of my circumstances or I'm a leader of my life. Ooh. And many of us get caught in the managing my circumstances. And it's actually easier on the ego and the sort of the standard brain to manage circumstances as they show up in my day. And now take that to life. If I can manage all my circumstances and I get to the end of my life and I have the right amount of money in the bank, then I can finally be free of all that management. That's not a good model. That's called managing life. And right now we can barely manage it. So it's a bit of a paradigm shift, but I wake up and I think about it. When I'm at my best, let's be real, there's bad days, right? I'm a leader of my day. I'm not just a manager of my circumstances in my day.
So would you say that the management thing comes from people are almost taught to be firefighters? You handle the next challenge.
Yeah, that's a great
fire, put out that fire.
Right. That's a great way to say it. It's almost like for many people, sort of go to the highest level for a second. It's like without a fire to put out, I don't know who I am. Like I need stuff to manage because I don't, I just, and they're not hard to find, right? There's kids in the background, there's kids at home. Like the circumstances right now are like, right? And I could die from this thing yesterday because my neighbor walked by me too close. I mean, let's be real. Right. So there's all this drama and trauma that we're all dancing with right now. And you guys know, you know this better than me. There's a lot of PTSD going on, right? Like,
Yeah.
right? It's like, how do I? Oh my God, my life changed. I don't. It's all this anxiety, and not unlike what you guys are in the business of. My job right now is to normalize the anxiety, so then the creativity can come back on.
One of the things that we try to stress, I know you're a master certified coach, which I love, is really creating or helping to facilitate paradigm shifts
Yeah,
within people.
correct.
So when we say, if you're here and you want to get to here, if you continue to focus on this, you keep
Yep.
attracting this. If you want this, what are some things that people can focus on in the in-between to help facilitate that shift, to start to move them towards what they really want to attract in their life versus, as you said, just continuing to put out the fires every day, because you can't continue to do that.
It's not a sustainable model.
Correct.
It's just not possible.
Right.
I don't know if I'm answering your question, Brett and Rick. By the way, if I'm not answering the question, come in and just redirect me, okay?
No problem.
But I'll just sort of riff in that direction.
Yeah.
Paradigm shifting comes from perspective shifting about how I see the world. There are people right now, and Carolyn Mace comes to mind. You know the name Carolyn Mace, MYSS, right? Yeah. She's sort of a spiritualist, metaphysician. She's like on fire these days with how to look at what's happening in the world. Like, she's pretty riveting. I watch, she sits in front of her computer and she just sort of goes, now I want to talk about kind of what's really going on the grander scale. And her style is so like sort of meek and real, and I'm just riveted. And I write down all her wisdom, and I'm like, and what she's doing is offering us a paradigm shift about what's happening in the world. And it touches us almost on an archetypal level, like at the deepest level. Now, I don't know how to help people find that, but I think as you look into your lives and look at what's going on, the paradigm shift comes from, what do you think is really going on in the world? It's not just a pandemic, it's a fill in the blank. It's Mother Earth saying, these are all made up. Mother Earth is saying, you know what? You stop taking care of me, I'm going to stop taking care of you. I'm not saying that's the right paradigm, but that's an interesting way to look at this. Right. That's sort of the that world is saying, we're not taking care of Mother Earth, and so she's just coming back at us. I have no idea if that's true, but that's a paradigm.
Right.
So for all of us to sort of think about how do I want to look at what's happening from a bigger perspective? And then, of course, it's like coming out about that in the world and offering that perspective is the risky part, because now you're setting up for people to vote at you. I mean, you all know this. The chiropractic industry was founded on a paradigm shift of the medical industry. Like, wait a minute, let's go behind the curtain, kind of like that. I don't know your world, but it's, I get the sense of it. It's like there's the root cause thing.
Yeah.
So that's paradigm shifting thinking. So I don't know if I answered your question, but the way to find it is to kind of go, it's not about what I want, it's what do I believe?
There it is.
There's the nugget.
What do I believe about what's happening? What do I believe about how humans create? What do I believe about what's playing? A bigger game is just a made up philosophy. Like, here's what I believe about how you move people forward faster. Not very complicated, but it opens up the aperture of the creativity of the human spirit, if you will.
So speaking to that, though, now you take something that is steeped in fear.
Correct.
And so people, let's say, we're on a path, and in using some of the bigger game technology, they figure out their compelling purpose, and they have action steps, and they're utilizing their eyes. And I know this game board like the back of my hand. And now you take fear that stops you cold.
Yep.
How do you, or what tools do you use to transcend the fear to keep the train running in that proper direction? For instance, we have our members and the people we've spoken to, chiropractor and non-chiropractor, that just feel stuck in the cement because the fear has almost paralyzed them.
Yep. Well, first of all, the fear is real, right? We don't never want to negate the fear. Like, the fear is real, right? So it's, first of all, to not shame ourselves that we're feeling it, right? So, the coach in me wants to go, you got to feel the fear and feel it deeply and let yourself drop into, and this is an interesting word that's coming up as you talk about it, is to let yourself feel the dread that it's over. It's not true, but there's a part of us that says life as I know it is over, and let myself feel it deeply. Because trying to convince myself when I'm on, it's sort of trying to be on top of what my body's feeling. And dread is a horrible emotion, but dread is the state of non-being. I will not be if I feel this feeling. So the paradox of emotional work, and you guys kind of know this space, is to let people feel it deeply. And by the way, probably not alone. That's why I'm a coach. I hold people in the space of dread. It's over. Talk about what life looks like right now, that it's over. It's not real, but it's what you feel. To kind of process.
You want them to express.
Get it out. Like it's sort of like, it's sort of like,
out. I think the operative word is process.
Process.
I think people have to allow themselves to process. Correct. Whether
Correct.
they lose a family member or close relative or a loved
Correct.
one, they have to have time to grieve or process. And a lot of times I think there's a balance that we want to be able to process. And at the same time, all right, I've had enough of that. It's time
Correct.
to move on.
Time to move on.
You can't move on until you've processed.
Correct.
And you have to be okay with that.
Yeah. And it's about, there's no right timing, but it's that place. Here's the language I'm using these days. It's like, I need to process it. And then what do I want to produce from the process? Like I have wisdom from my processing. Like I'm talking to you all about dread right now because 6 months ago, I won't go into the details, but life happened and I was in a dread space for about 6 weeks. I still got on phone calls. I was able to kind of muster, but I cried and sobbed on a curb in my backyard for like days. And people would have thought I was having a meltdown. I was having a meltdown, right. But I knew I wasn't going to die. And the problem is we think in those moments of complete meltdown, you've all heard this phrase, until there's a great breakdown, there's not a great breakthrough. It's such a bumper sticker, but it's real. And for many of us, we're having a breakdown. Just don't turn it into sometimes we need real help. Let's be really careful here. I'm not a trained therapist, but I know there's actual chemical breakdowns that I actually need help and I need chemicals, and that's depression. And I'm not talking about that. But there are times when it's like, I need to have the complete meltdown. Because here's just so funny you guys are talking about this. True clients today, complete meltdowns, pretty much, all good, like what's happening. But it's in that moment, I hope you guys understand this concept, when you finally you have to let go of trying to control it. You just no, I will die. And by the way, this is where it gets spiritual. So I work with a lot of people now on the topic of faith. This is where faith kicks in. Faith is actually believing in something that's not there. So there's this moment where it's like, unless there is something there and you have a belief system that there's a there, but for many of us, it's like faith, right? But where you finally have to go, I have to give this up. I have to let this go. Not drop intentionality, but let go of outcomes. This is the land of letting go of expectations, but still coming from a space of expectancy.
Well, we found that years back, and this was sort of what Brett and I founded our whole work on, was when Wayne Dyer was talking about releasing outcomes. And yet all we had been taught before that was to set goals and achieve and achieve and achieve and achieve. And I'm like, they seem diametrically opposed at the time until you understand.
Yeah, well, you're in the space, Rick, of you're sort of in the consciousness of and I'm a fan, by the way. Like goals are not my game. Like, yeah, I need some money in the bank and I need to pay some bills, and okay, I got it, but it doesn't drive me, right? Okay, a little bit of a theory moment. Can I just kind of go into a training moment?
Please.
it's leadership development, but it's borrowed from the world of quantum physics.
Mhm.
I'm not a quantum physics trained person,
Right.
but I've read and I've watched and I've been in a course and I've got enough. So I want to make sure that some people out there go, yeah, you're not quite getting it right. You know, give me a little attitude here, folks.
You got it.
So the training, and I want to do it with you guys. I have a piece of paper. Oh, it's so fun when I turn this into a training moment. Thanks for going there. Hang on, I'm just getting some paper and it's going to be alive. Okay, so throw some here's what I have. I have a piece of paper with a marker, okay? Throw some circumstances out that are going on in your lives right now. And by the way, for those of you that are on Facebooking, just write in the chat box, what are some circumstances that are going on in your life right now? Just name them. You guys go first. You're my first workshop people.
Sure.
Personally, professionally, doesn't matter.
Oh, it doesn't matter. Just throw them out there. Like emails. Oh my God, emails, right? Name some stuff.
So I would say the disappointment of the kids' life being shortened. You know, the summer being shortened and
right. Summer, yeah, exactly. It's sort of like the details of life, right?
Yeah.
Like it could be like, oh my God, the washing machine broke. I mean, it can be that basic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh my God, I have to wear a mask at Starbucks. But right. So by the way, how this works is like, I'm just going to draw a million things that are going on in the human condition, right? Right. So here's the quantum physics training. If you, by the way, let me just ask you, on this piece of paper, are there more here's the language, particles, dots, or is there more space?
More space.
Correct. So this is on a piece of paper, but they've proven, by the way, in your room you're in right now, in the room I'm in, if you took away the space between all the atoms and the molecules, it would fit on the head of a teaspoon. This is quantum, like it's the theory that there's a ton more space than there are particles.
Right.
Got it.
This is leadership development because most managers and leaders are focused on what?
Each particle.
Particles. I need the particles to line up. I wish this person would be different. I wish this would go better. And then COVID came along and oh my God, United is now selling the middle seat and oh my God. And right. You know,
and not selling alcohol.
And not, right. That's a mess. Oh my God. Right. So I know it's a little theoretical, but the concept is when you focus on the space, it's a little theoretical. Hang with me, everybody. The particles start to line up. Now, you guys actually do this with the body.
Right.
The medical world, I'm going to be very careful. You'll retrain me, give me aspirin, give me, right? And you guys go, no, let's get the space right. Let's get the body right. And it will start to heal itself. Am I saying that right?
Correct.
So the philosophy is the same.
Right.
So why would I go into this? I can't remember why I did this. This is about, we're trying to fix all this stuff. And as business owners and doing good work in the world, we're actually activating consciousness, and consciousness lives in this space.
Right.
Relationships live in this space. Energy lives in this space. Apple sells space. It sells a feeling, it sells an emotion, it sells a product through a particle called an amazing thing. But now this is an addictive space.
Sure is.
Right. So the universe is made up of particles and space. Both are needed, but most of us get caught in this domain of the particles.
Mm.
And when I train leaders, I train them on, and this is culture language. How's your culture? What is the emotional space? How safe is it? Can people say what they need to say? It's like leaders change the space, then the particles line up. But most leaders are caught in let me manage these people better. And if they just sell more, my life would be better.
Good point. Excellent point.
So that's a bit of a consciousness shift. But the way to think about it for maybe the folks that are watching and the world that we're in is like consciousness lives in that space. What's the consciousness you're holding? And I want to be really careful. It doesn't mean be positive. I'm sort of not like it's really hard right now. So we don't want to sort of do that rose-colored glasses thing.
Mm.
Like it's all good. I'm telling people, please don't say it's all good. It's it's real. It's rough. My aunt is sick. My uncle died. I mean, it's real stuff's happening. So we don't want to sort of do that sort of spin that feels almost disrespectful.
Right.
And it is a time to be real and support each other with what's really happening. And
So Rick, I'm going to jump in for a second.
please,
So
point me.
my on that point, and all the training we've had over the years, and
Yeah.
Chiro Destiny and so forth, and from Larry and everybody.
Yeah.
You know, there's a fine line, not a fine line. I don't know what I'm trying to explain it, but I find even myself saying as a knee-jerk reaction,
Of course.
almost acting as if when someone says, "How are you?" and you say, or I typically say, "You know what? Doing pretty well." Now, there are things happening in my own life, personally, professionally, whatever.
Yep.
But at the same time, my consciousness is, for me, in my opinion, for me, everything happens for a reason. And I've been trained myself to say, what can I learn from all this? Even though someone from the outside may view it as something bad, I don't necessarily view it that way. So that's why my knee-jerk reaction is, I'm okay. Things are actually pretty good. I'm experiencing and I'm learning a lot, but maybe it's not perfect. But I don't normally say that because then I feel like it's kind of lowering my vibration down.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of people tend to do that, at least in our world anyway.
They say, I want to make sure I understand, they do what? Lower their,
I think a lot
like
of
they're
people,
really okay. And right.
Or they're maybe not fully okay, but they kind of convince themselves that, you know what, everything is or will be. So what I project to the outside world is I'm doing just fine. And I'm a big fan of, I always say, you know, kind of take off your mask and it's okay to be vulnerable.
Yeah, of course.
Because again, we go back to our emotions and feelings. And I think the more we can get in touch with those on a realistic basis, whatever that means, I think the better human beings we become, or more authentic anyway.
Well, and it just feels better. I mean, it's just a pragmatic, it's like, I told the truth. It doesn't need to be fixed. It doesn't need to be changed. But you sort of sparked in me when you said that. It's the, I just lost the word. There's a lot of people out there I'm also listening to going, I'm actually doing great, but I'm embarrassed to say that I'm great.
Mm.
You know, and it's sort of like joy and happiness is not allowed right now.
Well, you said it before. You said that once you sort of find out where you are, you have to be willing to be voted on, which was an interesting way
you will be
of getting ready to be judged. And, you know, especially in the world of social media, where whatever your comment is, you're going to have the good, the bad, and the ugly instantly, whether you like it or not. It's a pretty out there forum.
It is.
Or the desire, like you said, to just communicate, express, so you can move on. And yet, as soon as you express, here it comes from both sides.
Well, and let's be really clear, Rick. It's like, where am I doing that expressing? I'm not going to go on social media and do my dread cry.
You might not, but that doesn't stop other people.
No, I'm not saying, you know what I mean?
Right, right.
Right. But it's a well, to your point also, Brett, around that, you know, this is happening sort of for a bigger reason. And my language in this side of this, and it's really radical. And I really invite people to sort of try it on. It's not right unless it's right for you. Mm. How have I co-created this experience? Because I believe and I train and I talk to leaders about everything that's going on in the world. I'm somehow a co-creator of it. Mm-hmm. China didn't do this to me. They might have started it, but somehow I did something that activated China. Everything in the world is co-created. Mm. So it ups the responsibility. What's my part in this?
Right.
What's my part in creating it? And now what's my part in solutioning it? Mm-hmm. Because sitting back and just doing armchair leadership about it is not helping.
Right.
Call it armchair leadership. I sit in my living room and I just vote at the television screen. Why don't they fill in the blank?
Right, right.
Right.
And so my part is I get on a phone call, I'm with you all, I write a blog post, I give it a perspective out there that people vote. But here's the other tip. If I'm high enough, and what I mean by high enough, it sounds like if I'm on enough drugs, no. If my talk or my concept is sort of inviting the human condition in, people don't vote as much. Do you know what I mean? I'm not voting politically. I will never go online and be I'm not going to vote about politics. It is not okay. I'm not that guy.
Right.
I'm a guy that wants to talk about the higher level of what's happening. You choose your politician, that's your choice, but I'm not one of those people. I've decided, my business partner, we're not going to get online and be political. Because I'm in the human condition business, not in the policy business. So that's a choice. So I'm speaking about some things that are sort of different than, oh my God, what's going on in Arizona with the COVID? Like, I'm just not going to be that guy.
Right.
Because the other thing we want to be aware of is impact. What's the impact I want to have? And we're sort of in an age right now, it doesn't really matter the impact I have. So, and I'm careful how I say this because social media, to your guys' point, is just, right? We all get to express. But I will put this into the space. I was talking about this on a call the other day. I don't know how to get it going, but other than talk about it, is what happened to the art of respect? The art of respect, the ability to respect your viewpoint. I don't have to like your viewpoint, but it's like, so what's happened, and it's sort of like a lost art. And for whatever reason, we're going through this phase. I sort of hold it like both of you, like somehow we need to go through this, and that's fine. But curiosity, by the way, is the antidote to judgment.
Right.
When I'm judging of you, if I get really authentic and do authentic curiosity, Brett, tell me what's going on, Rick. What do you believe, Rick? And I'm really authentic about it. Now we're in relationship. You know that great line, do you want to be in a relationship or do you want to be right?
So
right.
True.
Yeah, and the decision for people to not share what they truly feel for the fear of judgment, and because there's no respect or very little left, and we all have this, there are friendships that go by the wayside instantly because of
pain.
Whether it's I wear a mask or I don't, or I believe in this politics or I don't, and that'll end a 40-year friendship in one conversation, which again, it's antithetical to everything we've learned and we teach, because it's all about growth. It's supposed to be all about what lessons you're learning. It's all about taking off your mask, being authentic. What lessons are you supposed to learn in this life? And unfortunately, so much of it seems that this sort of destructive.
Well, there's a lot of anger. A lot of anger and fear.
All of these negative emotions: anger, fear, jealousy, embarrassment. All of these things that we sort of work on trying to avoid,
which need to
work through.
Which need to come out. I mean, I am a fan of somehow this is how it needs to go.
For now.
Because if I just vote at it, it shouldn't be going like this. Now I'm just one more big judgment of how it's going.
So let's shift gears, because when I think of the bigger game, and it's something that I've used now, in our professional and business and personal life, the center box is bold action. And for me, that spoke volumes.
Let's even do this, because there's people on here that are unfamiliar with the game. So Rick, if you could just give a quick, what's the bigger game? And then you create this game board as resources to be able to play your bigger game, just to bring anybody up to speed. So as we refer to it, they have a good reference.
You got it. So very simply, everybody, after working with hundreds of people and teams and individuals, a co-leader of mine, a friend of mine who's now passed, but she and I sort of double clicked on the human condition and flew above it and said, okay, what are the qualities or what's going on in people that are actually having the impact they want to have with their lives? That was the context, right? These very simple 9 concepts sort of rose to the top, and we gave them a name. It's a game board because it's a tool to reference where you are, because as soon as you know where you are, then you know where to go next. So you never get to stay stuck ever again after this call, I promise. Stuck is not an option because you're somewhere on this game board. And very simply, you're all going to know the language here. I'm going to blow through this really quick. Hunger. Why hunger for something? You want deep hunger. Like, what's the point? Why are you here? Which sort of feeds the compelling purpose. Compelling purpose is it's the why. I'm sure you've done great work with your folks around the why. There's great books about why, right? Comfort zones. I want to make a distinction. They're not good. They're not bad. They just are what they are. The question to ask is, do they serve me or not in the work I want to do in the world? Right. And so business-wise, I have moments of like, okay, we keep doing that same workshop. It's not working. I'm kind of bored. They're kind of bored. Time to change it up. Right. So comfort zones are behaviors, attitudes, thoughts, things you do that serve or do not. And the question all the time is, does it serve me? Right. Gulp. Very, very, very fancy scientific term for, oh my God, I don't know if I can do that, but this has to happen. Oh, could we really? I don't think so. It's the energy of both this must be and I don't know how at the same time. Because how, we all know, is the biggest stopper to anything in the universe. As soon as you ask how, you're screwed. You know, how do we put a man on the moon? I don't know. Let's give it a shot. I don't know. Let's try a couple things. Oh, you know, we all know that. So this has a moonshot quality to it, this model. Assess, very simple. How's it going? Is it fun? Am I compelled? Do I need allies? It's just a very general, open-ended, how's it going? Sustainability, taking care of yourself, the player. Are you taking care of yourself? You're going on vacation, you're taking time off, are you eating right? Right, it's that whole, you're the player of the game, you got to stay in it, right? Allies, real quick. Of course, there's people who support you, and we think that's generally allies. Want to broaden the context of allies. It's, and Brett, you kind of referred to it. Life is allying us all the time if we look at it that way. Like COVID is an ally. Cancer in my family was an ally. It brought my family together. So it's looking at life from a context of everything. Here's the language of it. Life does not happen to me. Life happens for me. So allies is people. It's your dog. You go for a walk. You feel grounded. It's a workshop. It's a course you sign up for, whatever it is, you know, we need that. And I think there's a lot of energy out there that people are like, I should know how to go through this. What's getting activated to people is like, this is unprecedented territory. I need support, or I need help, or I need a call, or whatever. Investment. Investing in the game, what it is, in money, time. I want to underline this one. I've been talking about this a lot lately. This is the universal principle. When you plunk your time down and your energy and your creativity and sometimes your money, you're telling the universe you mean business. You're moving from a dabbler to a business or a bigger game player, because some of us sort of dabble in the thing we want to do. And the universe goes, oh, because it just mirrors. I'm a dabbler. So the universe goes, oh, he's a dabbler. So this is like time in my day, money spent sometimes, you know, like I got to drop money down to, you know, I'm a part of a mastermind group and you guys do that kind of, I write a check every year. It's a lot of money. It scares me. Oh my God, am I going to make it back? But I know what I'm doing is I'm actually activating my commitment level by investing, right? So bold action without bold action is just a lovely conversation. And we're all sitting in a lovely conversation.
And,
that's
exactly
so Rick, that's
why
how you started the conversation. That's your
right. So I started there because in 2014, when we played the game for the first time, every time I just wouldn't step into that square. There was something that stopped me. I had the most difficulty about.
What do you make of that, Rick? What do you think? What was going on? Or
now after enough soul searching and self work, it was for me, it was the fear of success. It wasn't the fear of failure. The fear of success stopped me from being as strong as I could be, and using the word bold as I can be, in, you know, planting my flag into the ground.
Right, right. And let me just offer another addendum to that, possibly to throw onto it, is sometimes there's fear of success, but sometimes there's also fear of, I'm not sure I can repeat the success. That's another one I bump into. It's like, oh my God, I had the greatest year ever. Oh my God, can we do that again? You know, I don't know, just another, right? Sort of.
I have Brett as a partner, so it's pretty easy. I just
Well, there you go. You call him.
I'm riding the coattails. What are you talking about?
Right, exactly. That's great. Well, that's this. You know, you got a great
allies, man. Come on,
allies.
You guys are co-players, right? You know,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, you know, for those of you that are watching or listening, this is a very simple model. It's not complex. It's not even that profound. Its job is to activate your creativity. So you're somewhere on this game board right now. You want something to be different. You don't know why you're doing it. You forgot. Compelling purpose. You're not having any fun. I need to go hire somebody to bring some more fun, or I need to go on a vacation because I'm working, whatever it is. It goes like this, right? You know, and we did it with your team, which I loved. Can I just say, when I first met you guys, you know, there was a little bit of like, you know, when I know you guys interviewed me, we're going behind the curtain a minute. Like, oh, you know, does he know what he's doing? Does it? I don't know. You know, you guys are always you're vetting. You want to vet the right. You know, you were good vetters.
That's true.
And then when I told you,
I will say we missed the mark a few times.
No, I get it. I totally get it. You know, but you have no reason to trust me. That's the thing about being an outside consultant. You have no evidence other than you do your best and you meet me, and you know. But I remember saying something about, okay, we're going to put the game board on the floor with this big blue tape in this room, and it's going to be a gigantic tic-tac-toe board. And you guys were kind of like, what? How's
we're
it
gonna do what?
You know, we're gonna do what? How's that gonna work? You know. So,
well, listen, Larry is watching. I can see he's
hi, Larry.
Right now. And because if you're gonna put any tape on the floor, it better be in perfect square.
Yeah.
We need a protractor.
I think I remember there was sort of like, we got to get this right, you know. So, but I do remember that very sweet moment, and I want to tell on your group in that event. You know, my job is to activate people's creativity with each other, to be a guide for the conversation, not to be a guru for them. And I think that's a big thing as a distinction. I'm helping people, by the way, be guide for the conversation. And,
right. And we believe so strongly that the thing that holds people back is the willingness to have the conversation.
Correct. So let me build off of that for a second. Rick, you're kind of giving me a new thing that I'm talking a lot about out there is 2 conversations are designing our life. 2 conversations. You guys are going to go, this is so basic, but you're going to get it. The conversation that's going on in here and the conversation I'm having with other people. That's designing my life, period. It's not any more complicated than that. So, you know, this is I want to have a bigger game conversation rather than the same game conversation. So it's a little simplistic, but when you really help people realize what's the conversation you're having in your head during your day, and by the way, what's the conversation when having other people? Like, is it sort of the same game or kind of boring, or you're complaining with people, or you like, it's, you know, it's very obvious. It's sort of that mindset, you know, but I'm playing with this idea, this core belief that conversations are creating our life.
And I would say that having played the game now several times, it had a profound effect on me and many others. You said, well, here's the game board. It's not a big deal, so to speak.
Yeah, I know. I turned down it's like,
right, whatever. It ends up being a huge
correct
impact, because sometimes it just takes a conversation between, as you said, you and somebody else, or the small group you're in, depending on how many people play the game.
Yep.
And one of the metaphors that I've always learned was that we had a woman, we were doing these high ropes courses, and a woman was stuck on a wall.
Yep.
Paralyzed, and she couldn't move.
Yep.
And one of the facilitators said, can you look an inch to your left, look an inch to your right? When you just change the perspective, and it could be the ever so slight, changes everything. And to me, being on the board, and as Rick said, are you willing, 1, to get on the board?
Correct.
And then 2, are you willing to look within and say, okay, where am I on the board? Where am I going with all this? And I think when you begin to ask yourselves those questions and be willing and use your resources, it's amazing the space you can really create, I think.
Yep. And it almost feels magical rather than strategic.
100%. And that isn't that what life is all about?
I
right?
know. People ask me, is this like a strategy model? I go, well, kind of, but I'm not a strategist. If you're hiring a strategist, I'm not your guy.
Right.
There is a strategy to showing up on social media, and I get all that, and people are training funnels and all that interesting stuff. But I just am like, I don't do any of that, and I seem to be doing fine. So I just, I don't mean to make any.
You use the word creativity multiple times,
Right.
where most people, and I wouldn't say most, but people, when they're looking to tackle, what's happening or get back in business or back in growth or whatever it is, and they say, well, creativity, that's a little right brain, that's a little foofy, just tell me what to do, right? We hear that all the time.
Yep. Which is sometimes needed.
Oh, absolutely. But the creativity is what starts the conversation here.
Exactly.
To then be able to have the conversations outside that need to happen. That's what creates the momentum to me.
Yep. And what's really cool about the world right now is there's not an ounce of a reason why we can't still do our work in the world because of social media and all the Zoom. And we all just pivoted really quickly, and I can imagine though in the world of chiropractic, the brick and mortar, oh my gosh, although I don't know how it's going there, but that must be challenging at times.
Well, again, whether it's our practice or our life, it's just mirror imaging of, as you said, what's going on.
Yep. But I have been talking to sort of healthcare practitioners in my space too, and sort of not necessarily chiropractors, but I have a couple who I sort of support, and I'm being really adamant around, please maintain your position out there in the world. Please be the bridge to back when I come back into your office. Please don't go away. Like, do Zoom trainings, do stuff to keep yourself out there, because otherwise business-wise, like out of sight, out of mind. So sort of pragmatic messaging stuff. So can I just tell you the other one that's like I'm talking about a lot these days?
Please.
It's very antithetical to Brene Brown, and I mean no disrespect to Brene Brown. Courage and confidence, right? Mm-hmm. She's vulnerability. I'm all in on all that. But this courage word, I just am like, here's what I noticed. The antidote to doubt is not courage. It's commitment. I don't know where to find courage, but I'm going to call with you right now. And I'm committed to doing something that matters. And I'm going to give it everything I got. I'm going to create some confusion along the way. I know I have. I'm willing to recover from it, but I'm committed on this call to staying in the game. And people, by the way, buy commitment more than they buy content. What I mean by that is like, I have content, this cool content, but mostly they get off the phone with me and go, or, my world is like, my God, you're so committed to the, right? And that's an energy, that's a force field. That's I got you, like, come on, let's come over, like, do it, come join me. That's what you guys do. You guys help, you hold the space for people who have committed to their businesses and their work in the world. Does that make sense? Because when people are like, I'm stuck and confused and I need to find confidence, I'm like, you let me know when you find that, because you're a billionaire when you find it. But meanwhile, let's get you committed to something. Think about your kids. You don't worry about courage and confidence. I'm committed. It's just because you're committed. So when the going gets tough, I just go, what am I committed to today? And
we see people clinging to that uncertainty right now because they don't know how it's going to go. Is my state going to get shut down? All the stuff. So again, if you could lock back into what you are committed to, and to that, again, your compelling purpose, stay committed to it and continue to communicate it. Don't just crawl back into your hole because of the indecision and the uncertainty.
Correct.
Because
then back to the other topic is then we're co-creators of the future together.
Mm-hmm.
Because asking myself how it's going to go and what's going to happen is a worthless question right now. Because there's no answer. Because my state opened up, now it's shutting down. It could be, and we're trying to, again, we're trying to manage the particles and try to figure this out. And it's the ability to be with not knowing, to your point, Rick, is really a stretch. And humans, they're like, I need to know. And I've been telling them, you need to go before you know, because knowing is a little overrated right now.
I think, again, going back to the willingness to let go
Correct.
of the outcome and not worry about it so much. But if you're committed to whatever your purpose is,
Correct.
and you commit to that, you'll figure it out along the way. You don't need to know. You don't need to know, and you don't need to know the how, as we said before.
Yep.
So in closing, I'm going to just wrap this up. What I took some notes here, and here's what I got out of tonight's call by some of the things that you said. I always like to do this, and then we'll go from there. But a couple of things that stuck out with me. You said, be a manager of my am I a manager of my circumstances or a leader of my life? Choose to be a leader of your life. My biggest one that I love, and I say this all the time, is we don't get what we want, we get what we believe. That's why it's important to examine your beliefs and start to make those shifts. Another big one for me was let go of expectation, but come from expectation. Let go of expectation. What was it?
Yeah. So it's a little bit like expectations are the particles.
Yeah.
Expectancy is a state of being.
So come from expectancy
and live in a state of expectancy that the world is going to get better with any attachment to expectations. It's very Buddhist, right? It's Buddhist.
What's the consciousness that you're holding?
Mm-hmm.
And what did I do to co-create this? And what's my part in co-creating going forward even? And then how can we activate my creativity? Or how can one activate their own creativity? And then the last one, I believe you said the antidote to doubt is commitment, not necessarily courage. And I think commitment is a terrific concept. And I think if more people stay with that, you draw that proverbial line in the sand and you're just so committed. You're willing to step over that line and not go back no matter what and stay with it.
Yep.
It's amazing, like you said before, when you're in that space consciousness, all the dots, they start to go away anyway. They line up.
It's sort of a magical, like, I don't know how this happened. Oh my God, I have a successful career. How did that happen? And people go, you kind of go, I don't really know. I just stayed committed and I showed up a lot. And that's the other thing. You got to show up a lot. I mean, you guys are doing these calls, right? You are the quintessential example of commitment. Like, you haven't dropped the agenda. That's the other thing I'm telling people. Please don't drop the agenda you had before COVID. It's still needed. Don't let COVID design your life. COVID is just a part of life. It's not, I'm still doing the work I do in the world. You guys are still doing the work you do in the world. People are getting thrown off by that. I can't hold the agenda that I have for my life or my work. No, don't drop it.
And for those of you who are on the line that may not know Rick or have never read the book, I'm going to implore you to go get his book, Play Your Bigger Game by Rick Tamlyn. I think there's a game board in there as well. You can do that with your family. You could do that with your staff. Yeah. I think it's just such a great concept to be able to move and open up your concept. Yeah. I think it's life-changing. So,
and I know you started, one of your pivots was to start with Produce You.
Correct.
Which is, I believe you switched it now to go virtual with it.
Correct. It was a live, we do a live event every year, a conference, if you will. I call it an experience, not a conference. And it's called Produce You. It's basically help you to produce your bigger game, if you will. And we just went virtual as of 3 days ago. We just announced it. We're pivoting to virtual. Nobody's going to come into a room, into a conference in October. So I do want to offer, if you're welcome to put it into the chat or something.
Sure. Kimberly will do it right now.
Yeah, well, there's ricktamlyn.com, really easy. And then there's produceyouevent.com. Produce You, YOU, by the way.
Got it.
It's really inexpensive. I think it's like $97 for 3 days. And it's going to be a wildly interactive workshop-y, breakout rooms. I've got Broadway singers coming in. Like, it's a whole thing.
All right.
You know me, I come from Broadway and TV, so there's got to be a little jazz in it.
But again, like you said, start with creativity.
Correct.
And then it starts to lead people into that beginning of momentum, asking themselves better questions. Yep. No such thing as a good answer to a bad question.
Yep. Can I just say one more final thing? And I know we need to go. When
Please.
people get stuck, here's stuck for me is this is a tactical thing. Take away the language I don't know for at least 21 days. Like, stop saying I don't know, and do say what I know is I'm somewhere on this game board. What I know is I need support. What I know is I'm really scared. What I know is, because as soon as you know something, you're telling the universe and you're telling yourself there's a next place to go. But as soon as you say, I don't know, the brain shuts down. This is neuroscience.
Love it.
Love
On
that.
the back end of I don't know is nothing. On the back end of what I know is there's a something.
Right.
So, what I know is I need support. What I know is I'm scared. What I know is I don't know what the future's going to bring, but I know that. I mean, it's knowing without, you get it's knowing without knowing. It's a paradox. So, but it's a mind bender, because people, I don't know generates nothing.
And what I know is, I'm so glad you're in our lives. I'm so glad you're a part of our family. I'm so glad we had you on tonight, because this was a definite different conversation than we've had with anybody else we've had on, in a good way. I thought this was very thought-provoking, as I knew that it would. I think that you are just fabulous. You come from your heart. You're one of the most authentic people that we've ever met. So on behalf of myself and Rick and Larry and Kimberly and Debbie and Chiro Destiny and our profession, I really want to say thank you for taking the time to be here. I know our paths will definitely cross again. We'll have you at a future seminar. We'll do the next event, Produce You. I'm looking forward to that. I know everybody.
Yeah, come. I offer that to you guys, because here's the thing. You'll start to see. Oh my God, we could do a virtual event like that. See, we're going to learn the art of a virtual event.
That's awesome.
It's amazing. We were just a part of one that was 900 people, and it blew my. I was like, wow.
That's cool.
So it's pretty cool. So anyway,
Possibility thinking.
yeah, exactly. So it's a pleasure, guys. Thank you for doing the
You're
good
the
work.
best.
Thank you,
so much.
everybody in the world of these two gentlemen. You are held, you are loved, you are supported, because I know that, because I know their work. So
Thanks again. We look forward to interacting again and again.
you guys be well, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Thanks so much.
Thanks,
Be
Rick.
well.